Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today is Krista Faced, who is a founder and publisher of 22 Media Group in Toronto. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's talk about 22 Media Group. First of all, the name. Where does the name come from?
The name comes from just my love for that number. I was born on the 22nd, and I don't believe in a lot of stuff, but the number 22 has always just shown up in a big way in my life. And so, yeah, when I was making a name for the business 10 years ago, I just thought about something that would bring us a little bit of luck and charm and that I could stick with, like that I could have with me and never get sick of. So
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Tell
And I
me.
think it's like an angel number or something. I think 222 is a
Oh,
angel number. So we'll go with that too.
okay. So tell me what 22 Media Group is and what you do.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we're a publishing house. We have two consumer brands that operate in the Ontario market. We have Foodism, which is our long-standing food and drink publication, and we have Escapism, which is its sister travel title. Both of those are print magazines, which has been, in and of itself, a huge undertaking to keep that thriving and alive the past decade, but they are premium quality print magazines. I don't have our big milestone one here right now, but this is one of them. This is Foodism. And it's a quarterly publication that is distributed for free here in the GTA. And it's they're fully ad funded brands, meaning we rely on advertising. It's you can subscribe for free and you can read it for free. So at our core, we're print magazines, but over the course of the last decade, we've evolved those into large digital brands, social brands. We have events, kind of what every media brand is needing to do to adapt these days. We've added lots of different elements. And then there is another side of 22 that focuses on creative services work for the food and drink industry. That was kind of born out of demand from clients wanting better assets, better photography, better visuals for their brands. And they came to the source because that's what we do every day. So we've really been able to build out that side of the business, which goes hand in hand in helping us sustain the media side.
So tell me how this all began, and why it began.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kind of, I don't know, I think it to be a bit of a charming story, but I went over to London, England with a one-way ticket in my 20s just to experience the world. And I ended up staying a lot longer than planned. So I was there for over 4 years, and half of that time I spent at a publishing house, very similar to mine, an independent one. My background was in journalism, so I always wanted to get into the space. And I was their head of marketing and came on board right when we were concepting the launch of Foodism and Escapism over there. They had worked in the luxury lifestyle space. They wanted to move more mass consumer. So I was able to help launch those brands and basically consume myself in what it meant to be a media house at that time in like 2014. And I became enthralled with it and thought, well, maybe I can combine all of this experience I have and what I've learned here and bring this back to Toronto, because there was a huge gap for specifically the food space. It was exploding here, and there wasn't really a publication of our model or our voice that was covering it. And so I thought maybe there's an opportunity here, fill a gap, pitched it to the owner over there. And we shook hands, and he thought, there's a benefit in having a successful version of this in another mass market. So just go and don't soil the name and have a go at it. And that was all the motivation I needed. So I came over here, incorporated independently, and basically took the likeness of the brands and launched them here to what I thought would fill a gap, which I think 10 years on, we were onto something.
So did you go to university for journalism?
I did. I went to TMU for broadcast journalism, actually. So it was my dream to be a news reporter from, I think, the time I could write. I was putting in my career goals to be a news reporter. But I learned really quickly, Mario, that there were not a lot of jobs in that space at the time, and there continues not to be. So that was hard. It was like my whole dream was to work in broadcast, and I was in a room at one point as an intern while one massive channel got absorbed by another massive channel and everyone got laid off. And I remember that feeling. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So I
Yeah.
went a roundabout way going into marketing PR, right back then into print journalism. And here I am now.
So I'm curious, when you look at the media landscape now, especially when we talk of, quote unquote, mainstream media, I often think about it. I mean, I've been in this business, 46 years or whatever, right? And came from the daily newspaper, right? Big city newspaper. Uh, but I look at it today and I just shake my head and I don't know, I feel a touch of sadness of what's happened. What are your thoughts about mainstream media and what's occurred over the last, I don't know, decade, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. You have to compartmentalize it because even the last decade has been wild. And I can only imagine going back decades prior to
Yeah.
that. And I am a purist at heart and grew up wanting to be in the newsroom and wanting to be breaking news on TV and walking by and seeing news reporters and wanting to stop and learn what they were sharing. And it just felt really important and impactful and authentic. And I think
Mhm.
it's been hard to see that kind of wash away and traditional mainstream media become fragmented. And as a result, I think lose some of its trust, which is really unfortunate. I think that's the best word I would use to
Yeah.
describe how media is these days. It's just incredibly fragmented, and the way that our brains are consuming media and news and content is so fragmented, and we're getting it a million different ways every second of every day that I would love to go back to those days where you had to turn on the TV at 6 o'clock to learn what was going on in the world and in your community that day. There was something really beautiful about that. But I also know I can't stay in that mindset if I want to continue to advance 22 media. So, you have to evolve. I'm really grateful. I've never wavered on our commitment to our authentic voice, our trust, our reputation in the industry. And we've seen lots of other properties come and go. We've seen trends come and go. I do think at the end of the day, people aren't dumb and they trusted voices. And that's what I keep coming back to. And we might not be the biggest reaching, we might not be the glitziest, but what we speak, we're really proud of what we cover and our voice and all of that. But yeah, we've certainly been through many hurdles where we've had to kind of justify our name at the table while the new trendiest
Yeah.
thing was happening.
Do you think the demise of the mainstream media has opened the door for niche publications like yourself and others? I see, like even in the Calgary market, I see so many like different pockets of independent media popping up to fill a void that's there, right?
Yeah.
And do you see that happening?
I think that is the key to what has kept us around. I think it is the way forward, is finding those niche audiences that, again, you might not have the largest reach, but you have, like for us, for example, we have a small newsletter database, but our engagement rates are 3x the industry standard. And that's what I'm going to take to a client. Not everyone's going to care about that, but the right ones will. And so I think the niche market is absolutely the way forward. It's just a bit of a frustrating thing when the advertisers aren't necessarily seeing the value of that just yet, and they're still kind of chasing the numbers. And certain, which we can or can't get into, but the government support of independent media is a whole other topic, which
Yeah.
we're hoping for
Does
big
it
change on that
does
end.
that frustrate you, that the sense that you look at a Post Media or whatever, and they're getting millions of dollars each year from the government, and yet, the independent media out there that's doing the local stuff, isn't getting a thing.
Oh, it's beyond frustrating. Yeah, there's been a lot of change in the last few years where there seems to be just a lot of talk about it and a lot of a lot of, I don't know, words, empty words, because the actions behind it aren't actually backing up it. Even the government itself is not spending the dollars in Canada when they should be to support any type of media, let alone independent media. So it's just been, it's been incredibly frustrating. There's been a few opportunities. COVID brought along a new grant that did support independent media, but it's, pennies in comparison to what the big guys are getting.
Let me ask you about the print aspect of it. And I find this curious because, in full disclosure, I do some work with a local guy here in Calgary that puts out two magazines, print magazines, and one's on brand. It's called Brand, and it's about entrepreneurs and business people, and the other one's psychology, family psychology. It's about mental health and all that. But
Amazing.
and when I first started talking to him, he was sold and he was confident and optimistic about print, and you just liked the idea of having print publications. And I'm curious about your thoughts about that. And where the world is going more and more digital, and including the media, right? Everything becoming digital and moving away from print. How are you able to do this, and why do you think it's important to stay in print?
Oh, this is the type of thing I could talk about forever. This is why I am here. I'm incredibly passionate about print, and I might be cautiously optimistic in saying that I do think the pendulum is swinging backwards a bit right now. I think that we've been talking about digital fatigue for years, but I actually think with AI coming into play, there's now not just fatigue, but lack of trust with digital. And it feels like the choice is being taken out of it for consumers or for readers, where they're not choosing how they're consuming the content now. It's just being thrown at them. So what I like to go back to, which is what has always been the value of print, is that it's a very intentional choice. You have to choose to sit down and open a magazine and consume it. We know psychologically that that's more impactful. We know that you're actually registering it on a deeper level, but also you're making that informed choice to read it. And so that's really what we've been championing here at 22, with our sales team, with our editorial team, in terms of who we're writing for, who we're selling to, is reminding them about this idea that the value of that person opening the magazine and reading it should be valued in a very different playing field than someone that's being thrown ads or 4-second video clips online. There can be a space for both, but we do have to treat them differently, and there should be space for both. So I'm again cautiously optimistic that we're swinging back a bit, where the whole trend of like offline is the new luxury, and taking time and choosing to engage in something and read in something has real value. And I know that that's the mandate that we're leading with. So I'm optimistic. We've seen some rough years with print. I think it was being put in, from a media buying perspective, it was put in the same pocket as programmatic ads and Meta and all of that. And it's just a wildly different thing. It's a completely different way to consume content, and the benchmarks and the results of that should be treated differently. So I think we are coming back to that a little bit. So do I love print? Yes. Has it been hard to keep it alive for 10 years? Also, yes. But do I see a future for it? Yes.
Yeah. What do you read when it comes to a print publication? What's your favorites?
So I read a lot of what's here in the market. And then also I love looking back at London, because that's where my love for kind of this freemium model started. So I still read a lot of publications that come out of England. I think they do food publications incredibly well. But I love reading here, like our local publications. I love what Michael Hollett does with Next. And I believe he's bringing back, is it Spin? He's bringing another old school traditional print title back here. So I love, like, if you come into our office, we just have every one of our quote unquote competitors here, and we consume them day in and day out. They're inspiring to us. So I read a lot of what's here. and they inspire me.
How, in this day and age, when there's so many choices, right, especially on the digital level, how do you build an audience?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really what you're going for. Like we have others in this space that are just going for mass eyes and mass reach. And so your content strategy reflects that in terms of what's going to get the most shares, what's going to get the most eyeballs on something. We prefer to take a little bit more of that less is more approach. We produce less content on a daily basis and a weekly basis, but it's very, very thoughtful. My editor at Foodism has been here now 8 years. So to say she understands the brand, just as well as I do, it's true. So, I look to them and they're constantly coming up with amazing, amazing ideas. And they're just out and they love the industry and they love meeting people and talking to people. So when they come into the office, they're just full of ideas. We always run it through our machine of, is this what a foodism reader would like? Can they get it everywhere else? Is it true to our brand? And, what's the point of it whenever we're putting resources and people behind content? There has to be a why. So I don't want to speak for them because they really are the idea generators, but they truly love this world. They are out every night immersed in it, that they're just flowing with content. And I think that resonates at the end of the day. When readers read what we write, they can tell there's passion behind it. It's generally stuff that not everyone is writing about, and we take pride in that, and we offer a different perspective.
Yeah. You know, the whole idea of food is quite fascinating, right? Because and like food and beverages and that excuse me, that industry. Because I know even for myself, I go out for dinner somewhere and I take a photo of a pasta dish and post it. That's the one thing all day that I've posted that everybody looks at, right? What is it about the food and beverage industry that just draws the attention and the appeal for people, and why has it changed? Like I don't think it was like this 10 years ago or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, people were definitely posting their pasta photos 10 years ago, but it certainly wasn't to the degree or as polished as it is now. I
Yeah.
think we all laugh about when we look back at 2016 and it was just those like overly edited, blurry photos that we would post on Instagram, and that was enough. And there wasn't as much of it. So to answer your question, like I think food is just universal. Food is so communal. And food is a joy of our life that we're fortunate where we are to get to experience so much of it. So I think just on a fundamental level, food is so welcoming and universal that and like cat videos on the internet just seem to really resonate with people. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're definitely in a space that brings joy to people. And
Yeah.
I think that makes the content, a lot easier to write, a lot easier to consume than if we were doing the daily hard news reporting.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much joy around it. And I think in particular in Toronto, why the food content has resonated with people is it's so diverse, and people can see themselves in the type of content we're writing, because there's every cuisine, every background, every nationality represented here. And we try to also have that representative in foodism. And so people can see themselves and relate to the content a bit more.
Well, when you go to a big city like say Toronto or whatever, and it's amazing to see all the choices, right? And like every country you can think of, how, when you look at that and the interest in different ethnic cuisine, why did that change? Like, why are people now more, I don't know, adventurous, for lack of a better word, when it comes to cuisine?
I don't know if they're more adventurous or they're just more aware
Yeah.
of it all. I think the city has always represented so many different ethnic cuisines and communities. I just think, and that's where the plus side of social media and where media is heading comes into play, because there is a positive that there's so much more coverage on what is out there. I do think it's always been there. I just think there's more of an appreciation for it because people are seeing it more, and these voices are being able to be amplified and enjoyed more.
Yeah. Last thing I want to ask you, just kind of a recap, so to speak. But what do you think the future is of independent media in this country?
That's a great question. If you had asked me 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, I'd have wildly different answers. So it is honestly ever evolving. It has been very, very interesting for as many. I think it is about celebrating milestones that independent media, the benchmark is not survival. I hate when people say that. It shouldn't just be about surviving. We should be thriving. But the benchmarks need to be lowered, and we do need to celebrate more of the moments of just truly being a brand and achieving what we're capable of. For example, our 50th issue just came into the office today. So if you had said to me 10 years ago, with everything that has happened, you get to 50, that's a huge milestone, and we need to celebrate that. We need to pause as a team and really give everyone their flowers and look at how we've gotten here, because it's been incredibly challenging, and it still will be. Am I hopeful that the government, does something to really back up these words for independent media? I think it's absolutely needed and required, or we will continue to see it decimate. So I'm hopeful that that's a piece of it. I don't like putting my fate into other people's hands, but I am hoping that the government really steps up in a big way. And, what I said earlier about offline being the new luxury, I'm doubling down on that, and we will continue to promote how valuable print eyes are and that engagement. And so we will be, going full force with print. But we're also really developing the event side of our business. And so I do think you have to have those multiple prongs and revenue streams to keep a brand engaged with its audience. And we know audiences want more IRL experiences, brands want it. So for us, it's building out that arm of the business. We have an award show that is now entering its 4th year called the Foodism Icon Awards. And it uplifts those in the industry through different icon awards given out on one night. And so we're entering our 4th year of that. The momentum with that, with brands and readers, is building and continuing to build. So I think keeping true to who we are in print is really important. Building out those other areas to round out the brand. And yeah, of course, hoping that the government and everyone else catches up to the fact that independent media is needed.
Yeah.
And we need to support it.
All right, super. Thanks so much, Krista, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Mario.
Okay, that was Krista Feist, who is founder and publisher of 22 Media Group in Toronto. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.